The Amityville haunted house. On a cold and windy November night in 1974, a grand house at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York, stood in eerie silence. This house had just been the scene of one of the most horrifying crimes in American history. Ronald DeFeo Jr. had brutally murdered 6 members of his family with a rifle. However, for the Lutz family, who moved into the house shortly thereafter, the real horror was just beginning. The Lutz families moved George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved into the house hoping to start a new chapter in their lives. They bought the large Dutch colonial-style house at a very low price, fully aware of its grim history. But they had no idea that their nightmare would only begin once the door closed behind them. Their move into the house was accompanied by a sense of optimism. George, a successful businessman, and Kathy, a homemaker, felt fortunate to acquire such a large house for a bargain price. They planned to spend the rest of their lives in this dream home. Their children, Daniel, Christopher, and Missy, were also excited about the new house, especially with its large rooms and expansive yard. The first day, the atmosphere in the house felt strange. There was a bone-chilling cold despite the heating system working well. Kathy felt the presence of something unseen, and the children often woke up in the middle of the night, crying for no apparent reason. On their first night in the new house, George heard strange noises. Footsteps echoed from the upstairs while all family members were asleep. When George tried to investigate, he found nothing. A sense of anxiety began to haunt him, and he started staying awake every night, listening to the increasingly loud noises. The third day, Kathy began having nightmares about the murders that had taken place in the house. In her dreams, she saw Ronald DeFeo Jr. walking around the house with a rifle, repeating his heinous actions. She woke up drenched in sweat and gripped by an inexplicable fear. Meanwhile, the children started talking about frightening imaginary friends. Their daughter, Missy, often spoke of a boy named Jody, whom she described as a large pig with glowing red eyes. George and Kathy started to worry, but they tried to convince themselves that it was just the children's imagination. The 6th day, George became increasingly fixated on the fireplace. He felt he could not get warm even while sitting very close to the fire. Often, he woke up in the middle of the night, exactly at 3:15 a.m., the same time the murders had occurred. At the same time, Kathy found strange wounds on her body, like deep scratches. Their fear escalated when objects in the house started moving on their own. The second week, things worsened. Doors and windows opened and closed by themselves. An inexplicable foul smell filled the house. Sounds of screaming and crying often came from the walls. Kathy saw the ghostly figure of a man with red eyes on the stairs, and George often felt something watching him from the shadows. They called a priest to bless the house. When the priest entered the children's room, he heard a voice commanding him to leave. He felt a slap across his face and a severe headache. The priest warned the Lutz family to leave the house immediately. The third week, the Lutz family tried to hold on, but the paranormal attacks intensified. George discovered a hidden room in the basement that was not on the house's floor plan. Its walls were painted red, and it had an extremely ominous atmosphere. They believed this room was the source of all the negative energy in the house. Kathy and the children started seeing dark shadows following them around the house. They heard whispers calling their names. George's mental health deteriorated, and he began behaving erratically. often angry for no reason. The fourth week on the 28th night, the peak of the terror occurred. Loud banging shook the house, windows shattered, and doors locked themselves. The Lutz family was trapped inside, and George felt a strong urge to harm his family. They fled the house in panic, leaving all their belongings behind. Life after Amityville. After leaving the house, the Lutz family shared their terrifying experiences with an author, Jay Anson, who then wrote the book, The Amityville Horror. This book became a bestseller and was later adapted into several films. The Lutz family never returned to the house. They moved to California and tried to start anew, but the horrifying experiences in Amityville continued to haunt them. George and Kathy felt that the evil presence from the house still followed them, even though they were far from 112 Ocean Avenue. Paranormal investigation. The Amityville house case attracted many paranormal investigators. Ed and Lorraine Warren, a famous paranormal investigation couple, were invited to investigate the house. They claimed the house was indeed haunted by a powerful evil force. Lorraine, a clairvoyant, felt an overwhelming negative energy and saw horrific visions of the murders that took place in the house. Despite much skepticism, the evidence collected by the Warrens, including recordings of strange noises and photographs showing ghostly apparitions, further supported the claims that the Amityville house was truly haunted. However, many doubted the authenticity of this evidence, considering it the result of manipulation or overactive imaginations. The continuing story, the house in Amityville, remains one of the most famous and controversial paranormal cases. Some believe the Lutz family's story was fabricated to gain attention and money, while others are convinced they experienced real terror. To this day, the house still stands, a silent witness to an unresolved mystery and haunting horror. In the following years, the house has changed hands several times, but no new owners reported similar paranormal events. However, the fear and curiosity about the house remain, attracting ghost hunters and tourists eager to experience the chilling atmosphere of the Amityville house for themselves. Conclusion: this story reminds us that sometimes, a dark past can leave a terrifying mark, making certain places a nest for negative energy and supernatural phenomena. For the Lutz family, the nightmare in the Amityville house was a reality they will never forget. The story of the Amityville haunted house teaches us about the power of fear and how traumatic experiences can affect a person's life forever. While the truth behind these events is still debated, its impact on popular culture cannot be ignored. From books and movies to television shows and documentaries, this story continues to captivate and frighten many people around the world. For those who believe in the supernatural, the Amityville house is tangible proof that evil can leave deep and lasting scars. For skeptics, it is an example of how horror stories can be created and perpetuated by human imagination. Regardless of the perspective taken, the Amityville house remains a symbol of fear, mystery, and the irresistible allure of the unknown.